Okay, hello everyone. Welcome to the mini paint challenge week. It's week 11 now. It just so happens to be Valentine's Day today, so happy Valentine's Day, everyone. I hope you're all enjoying your day, whether you're in a relationship or not. Hopefully you have a lovely day celebrating. Today I picked out some cute little cherries with at the stems making a cute little heart because I figured we would go with the theme today. Last week we worked on this cute little painting here. It was a collab with another artist named Alicia, and it was so nice to have someone on the challenge last week that I've decided to add some more collabs in the future. So next week we actually have another collab with an artist. She's all the way in Sweden, so I'm excited to share the reference photo she sent me for next week. But yeah, we will just get into it today. So I'll switch over to the paint mixing scene. So this is the photo here that we're going to be working with. Got these little cherries. I should mention that we do have the reference photo up on my website, so you can go there and download like a high quality reference photo if you want to paint along with me today, or just hang out if you're here on the live. But I will be posting all of these live streams that I do so you can watch them back if you need to. But yeah, I think we will, I guess, just select our colors now. And hopefully my husband's watching again so he can put that in the chat for you guys. And then you'll know which colors that I'm using. So I'm using oil paint today, but feel free to use like any medium you'd like. I've had like a few people participate with watercolors now and pastels, some colored pencils. We even had some acrylic paint too. So I love seeing all of the different mediums being used. I feel like at some point I should try using a different medium too. It would be fun. Switch it up a little bit for one of them. So I'm definitely gonna add some alizarin crimson. I will do titanium white as well. I'm thinking some cadmium red light. I tried to pick kind of like an easier one today too, so not too many colors to mix today, which is kind of nice. And then the background I feel is more like alizarin crimson. We might want to actually add a little bit of quinacridone magenta maybe, or quinacridone violet onto the palette. I haven't decided if I really want, maybe I'll do quinacridone magenta on there, just in case I decide I want to use it. I'm gonna put some cadmium yellow light. Hey hun, hubby's in the chat now. I don't know what we're doing tonight for Valentine's Day though. I think I said I didn't want anything crazy. I just want to watch a movie and get a foot rub and relax tonight. It's like my favorite kind of night. Just like chill. Chill is good. I'm gonna also put some cerulean blue on there. I like to use sap green. And then thinking we'll put some ultramarine blue on there. And like I said, I think the background will be kind of nice, a mix of like magenta and alizarin crimson. I'm gonna do like a nice pretty background, like pretty pink background. So we will start with the titanium white. And I tried to also edit the webcam to see if I can get the colors a little bit closer this time, because I know that the colors haven't been as accurate like on stream. It's really hard because everyone's screen is a little bit color graded a little bit different. That's why I try to tell you the colors beforehand, so hopefully it's like close enough. And I post all of the photos of past ones on my Instagram and Facebook. Maybe I should do a big post on YouTube community tab of a few of the last ones that we've done too. So that one was quinacridone magenta, That one is a titanium white. And then we've got alizarin crimson. I was actually telling my husband the other day, I'm like, I think I need to go to the art store and get some more paint because we're running low on alizarin crimson and this cadmium yellow. I've got cadmium red light. These are hard to get off today. I'm just like using a cloth to get them off. Sometimes they're a little troublesome to get off. That looks good. So excited for this painting today. I've always wanted to paint like little cherries like this. I've seen a bunch of different photos. I actually made a reel of me making the reference photo for this one the other day. So I actually took one of the stock photos on Canva and I adjusted like the shadows and the highlights on it, and then I added like a cute background to it, and I made it kind of more of what I wanted, which is like my favorite thing to do. I love kind of editing photos, and I just got a drawing tablet. Well, I didn't just get it, my husband got a drawing tablet, but I've definitely been using his drawing tablet a lot more than he has since he got it. It's so helpful though, because then I can draw in Photoshop a lot better, and I can add little details to the reference photos. So I didn't take this cherry one. The cherries specifically were like a stock photo, just because cherries are definitely not in season over here. I'm in Canada. It is cold here right now. It's actually the one place in Canada that's probably not tons of snow though. So knock on wood, don't need it snowing here. We had like maybe a few days of snow in December, and that's about it. That's our extent of snow normally. Work and coding boot camp demanded a ton of my time since my birthday. Yeah, my husband has been working a lot. He's also got a big job transition. He's turning into an independent contractor now. So we have some new business stuff. We have to like incorporate our business and stuff, and figure out all the paperwork for that. So that's a new endeavor that we have going. So there's like a little stress over here, but that's why I love painting, because it brings me into a different world and I don't always think about the issues we have going on. Okay, so we will start out with, okay, I'll grab my little arrow here. I'm thinking we'll start out with the reds in the cherry because I just really love doing those ones first. I'm gonna make the purple I normally make with alizarin crimson and ultramarine blue. I like to start out with this very dark purple. This is going to be the black in our cherry. The darkest areas. It's definitely like a deep purple. Okay. I had a little bit more alizarin crimson than ultramarine blue in here, just to make it a little bit more on the red side. That's like good color to start out with. So I'm gonna just put that like over to the side. And I'm thinking what I'll do is I'll actually keep like a little bit on our palette just to have the base color for that. And now we will take this color, and there's some areas kind of in here that have a slightly like reddish purple, so we're actually going to take a little bit of this and we're going to add some more alizarin crimson to it. And then we're going to start adding a little bit of the cadmium red light. And this will kind of give us like the darkest areas in there. So make sure you use your reference photo and just kind of hold things up to it. This is like a nice deep red that we're looking for. I'm gonna add that on the palette. And we're going to slowly transition to more of this color here. It's kind of almost like an orangey, cadmium red light is like an orangey tone. It's got some yellows in it. But I just love the colors it makes. I love painting cherries. I've actually painted a lot of cherries. It's like one of my favorite fruits to paint. They're just have such nice color. Okay, so that's pretty good for like our next color. So we're just kind of like slowly going down from there. I do want a nice bright red. So I am going to start adding in just directly that. Perfect. Thanks for adding those to the description. So yeah, all the colors should be in the description there now. Now I'm gonna have just probably a solid red here, but I also want, there's kind of like, so I'm gonna use some quinacridone magenta in with the cadmium red and mix these two together because I think it'll make a really nice like pinky red color. And since there's going to be kind of like pink in the background, it's nice to have some of that brightness coming in to the fruit. Perfect. Yeah, the colors are in the chat there. Yeah, that's exactly the red we're looking for. It's just got like a little bit of that, a little bit of the quinacridone magenta in it. Just a little bit different. So that's really nice. Now we're going to work on the highlighted areas in the cherry now. So we've got this highlighted area. It's definitely going on more of like, I would say the yellowy side, and then into the middle of it, it's more of like a bluish. So we're going to start out with the yellow one. So we're going to add titanium white. We're going to add a little bit of, there should just be a little bit of the red on the palette anyway, so that kind of make it a little bit pinky. And then we're going to go more on the yellow side by adding a bit of cadmium yellow light. And this color is specifically for just around the highlight. Let me see, I feel like that's pretty good. Yeah, that's pretty good for the highlight there. And I will put that there. And then we need the more blue highlight as well. I'm gonna actually clean this off a little bit just so we don't get it mixed in. You wanna clean your palette off if you want like really bright colors in your white, so you don't want a bunch of other pigments mixing in with it. So this one is going to be more blue. I'm going to use a little bit of cerulean blue, just a bit on the tip. Don't need a lot of this pigment. And that's looking pretty good already. And let's see. Yeah, that's like pretty close to what we want there. Close enough for my liking. Okay. And then we've also got almost like a darker kind of reflection highlight on the edges here. So what I'm probably gonna do is I'm gonna take some of this like darker highlight, and what I'll do is I'll kind of like brush it over the top of the darker red at the end, and that'll just give that little effect that we're looking for at the back. So I don't think we need to mix a color for that. We can move on to these green colors now. So I'm going to start out with a sap green, and we'll work from dark to light in here. So we've got a nice sap green. Love using sap green. I was saying last time that sap green is a mix of a bunch of different colors. So I think it's, what is it, Indian yellow and phthalo blue. Yeah, Indian yellow and phthalo blue. So you could also just use those colors as well, but sap green is just so nice because it's already like pre-mixed for you. Okay, so I'm going to use just sap green as I think the base on here. Yeah, I'm just going to use it as the base, and then I'll keep a little bit here, and we will slowly add a bit of yellow to lighten it. So I want to make it a little bit brighter with yellow, add a bit more. We'll maybe make like 3 transition colors because we're doing a very tiny painting. I like to paint on 3 inches by 3 inch paper, which, what is that in centimeters? I realized the other day, I was like talking to the other artist in Sweden, and she uses, you know, the other measurement system, so they use centimeters there for like their canvases and paper and stuff. So I use 3 inch by 3 inch, which, what is like 7 centimeters, maybe 6, 7 centimeters. Can't remember what it was. So very tiny. That's just what I'm getting at. It's a very tiny one. Okay, that looks nice for transition. And then we also want like a brighter one as well, slightly brighter one. We'll probably start adding a little bit of white to it for the highlights as well. But I want like a pretty bright yellowy one as well. Just because it's fun to have kind of more of that bright tone. It's not quite like that in the reference. Oh, see, my husband's got it. 7.62 centimeters. See, that's why I'm thinking in 7 and 6. Makes sense. 3 inches. Okay. I couldn't remember what it was. I looked it up the other day because I'm like, I should maybe put both measurements in my descriptions so people know. Because the other artist, she did hers on a 10 centimeter by 10 centimeter, which is pretty much 4 inches. But I guess our framing would be different too. So different. Wish the world just used the same measuring system. That would be a lot easier. Okay. I'm just adding a little bit of titanium white to the sap green here, just to see what color we get. I do want to add a bit of yellow to it, because I want it more on the yellowy side, I think. And this is just for the highlight areas. Should I reschedule my exam for Thursday or Friday next week? My husband is taking lots of exams. Oh, yeah. Yeah, your parents are visiting next week. Don't schedule it for when they're here. Yeah, we've got family visiting next week. Our son's birthday, they want to be here for our son's birthday. His birthday is March 1st. He was almost a leap year baby. This year's another leap year, and I was in labor like the whole day on the leap day. He was so close. He was born like 30 minutes after midnight on the leap year. Okay, I'm also gonna make, actually what I'll do is some of the highlights in this are kind of like on the bluer end, so I think we could probably use this highlight color we made for that as well. I'm also going to make kind of that brownish color at the top. There's kind of like browny beige color there. Might do it in the morning, Friday. You could, yeah. You could do it in the morning. Though I might try to make you clean the house before your parents get here, so maybe don't do it on Friday morning. Tend to binge clean the house before the in-laws come. Okay, what am I starting with? So it's got kind of like an orangey tint to it. So I think we'll use a bit of alizarin crimson and cadmium yellow. We'll get a little orange going. I'm making it very light because it is a very light color. We'll slowly add a bit of titanium white to that. We're just going to make that beige color. And for orange, to desaturate orange, we're going to add a little bit of blue to it as well. And that should give us closer to the beige that we're looking at. I'm going to have to make it a little oranger. That's the color we're looking at. Let's see. That is actually very close. I would say we want to add a little bit more yellow to that even. And then we're pretty much there with the beige that we need. And we don't have to make it exactly either. It's kind of fun, like as long as it looks similar enough. And so we're mostly looking at the value of it. So the value is like the light and darkness. So if you were to put this into like a grayscale, you would want this to kind of like match up with the same color in the grayscale. And it will just make it like look accurate, but you can still change the colors. So like if I wanted to change that color completely, I could swap to a different color, but make it, I'm gonna put this color at the side. I'm gonna make a slightly darker color than this. Yeah, I'm gonna make a slightly darker color. So I'm gonna use that and a little bit of yellow and make that orangish color again. And I think what I'll do is I might add some of this purple we made because it's got the blue in it. And that will make it pretty dark. Because it's really just alizarin crimson and the ultramarine blue mixed in there. I think we're going to need to make that a bit darker. I'm going to line it up, but yeah, it definitely needs to be darker. Darker, but on the orangey side. I think it's just fun to mix browns. I know you can buy like different types of browns. Like sometimes I'll use, what is it? Burnt sienna, that's it. I like to use burnt sienna sometimes, especially for avocados. I feel like burnt sienna is like the perfect color for the pit. And then I don't really have to mix the pit color when I do avocados. So once you learn how to mix colors, it's nice to buy some of the pre-made colors sometimes, just to make it a little bit easier, especially if you're painting the same subject matter quite a bit. Yeah, a little hard to lip read. I'm not very good at lip reading. I am not good at that at all. Oh man, but your call is done now. Thanks for hanging out. We've just been mixing colors anyway. Nothing too crazy yet. I was saying that I hope I got the color figured out for the camera. I adjusted the colors for the camera this time. So hopefully they're a little bit closer. All ears now. Perfect. Okay, we're just mixing up this brown. I think I want it a little bit darker still, actually. Gonna add more of that purpley color that we made. Let's see. That's actually closer to what we want. I got some I got some adjustments done. I did it kind of last minute this morning, so hopefully they turn out okay. I might try to play around with it more if the colors still seem off, but it looks like there is like an area on the camera where I can adjust the colors a little bit more, which is nice. I went like deep into the settings this morning and was like messing around with it. And then I was like, oh no, I better start the live stream. It's 10 o'clock. So we made it though. Okay, so we've got those colors mixed, and now we just need some background colors. I'm amazed how little swatch of color goes such a long way with oil colors. Yeah, exactly. I feel like you just you need the littlest amount. I mean, I'm painting on a very little surface too, but like it goes a long way. Like I feel like it's very pigmented compared to a lot of acrylics, at least that I've used. Maybe I haven't used good enough like acrylics, but like the Liquidex acrylics are really good quality. Like I've heard really good things from a lot of artists, but yeah, I find that it doesn't go as far. The nice thing that I like about oils compared to acrylics too is when you put the color on the paper, that's the color that it's going to be. Whereas with acrylics, it's like it dries like a little bit different, the color. So it's harder to so if you're like working on a painting and then you want to come back to it, it's hard to like remix that exact same color because the color is going to look different on your palette versus like when it dries on the paper. So I do like colors for oils for that reason, just because it's easier. It's easier to identify those colors. So you will get more accurate colors with oils. Just a benefit. Okay, I'm using alizarin crimson and titanium white, and that's, I think, the pink I'm going to use for the background because I love this pink so much. It's such a pretty pink. The one color I want to invest in is quinacridone Rose, and I don't think Gamblin, the paint brand that I buy, actually has quinacridone Rose, but apparently it's more on like this pinky side, so I think I might like it because like quinacridone magenta tends to be more like cooler tone, and this is like a bit warmer, and I like the warmer pinks. Yeah, that's like definitely the pink that we want. That's looking good. Okay, I'm gonna keep that aside. Kind of like the darker pink near the top section, and then I'm also gonna add a little bit more titanium white and make a slightly lighter one as well. And we'll see. See how that's looking. It's a little bit different from that. Kind of goes into that lighter tone. Okay, put a little bit of that there. Keep some on here, and I'm going to keep adding a little bit more white for that bottom area. This one's going to be like a really, really light pink near the bottom. And then there's like a shadow area that almost has like a purpley pink reflecting off of the cherries, so we'll try to recreate that as well. I like the look of that. Okay, let's see how that looks. That's more of like the color in the middle. Yeah, I like that. I'll lay some of that down. And then I'm gonna try to make that a little bit like purpley at the bottoms. I might actually add the quinacridone magenta to it just to make it on that purpley side. Might even want to add, let me add a bit more of it. It's more purpley at the bottom. I guess I could use my arrow. I'm doing like this bottom section here. Yeah. Kind of making those like slightly darker purples. I want to keep the colors like pretty saturated. I'm just doing it just a little bit. Let me see. I think I want them a little bit deeper even. I might add some of this that we made. This darker purple. I think adding that in will give us that deeper color we're looking for. It's a good thing we made that purple on the side because I'm using that purple throughout. Yeah, that's exactly what we want there. So that's the darker purple. And then we also want to start lightening it up as it goes to the edges. So we're going to add a bit of white to it. Lots of pretty colors in the background. You could also go like more simple and just do like more of a solid white. I like to add variations in colors in the background. It just gives it a little bit more depth if we can add more of those shadows and highlights within the background. It's all about creating these like little details in these tiny paintings. Really adds to it. Okay, so that's more of the purple. And then we also need more of a white color. So I'm gonna clean that off. I definitely want to color the titanium white a little bit with whatever color is on the palette here. Just add like just a little bit of the pink from the palette that's just left over. And that's kind of that middle section there. Let's see. Just a little bit of that purple even. Very tiny amount of that purple that we made. Oh my gosh. Why are you dragging your butt around, Kit Kat? Hubby might need to come down and deal with Kit Kat. What are you doing? She's causing a ruckus in the background. Okay, that white's looking a bit closer. We just added a little bit of purple to that. There we go. Okay, let's see. I think we are good to start. I like that. I like the colors that we selected. It's a really nice palette today. I like these colors. Okay, I'm gonna flip my cloth over. I'm gonna put this over on the side. I'm also going to use a little bit of linseed oil to clean my brushes in between. So I'm just going to put that to the side over here so we can clean. I'm going to put a bit of the solvent-free gel by Gamblin as like my medium. Sometimes I like to use a little bit of this, and then sometimes I like to use linseed oil. This is pretty much just linseed oil, just in a little bit of a gel form. Not actually sure how they make it jelly, but I think it's a mix of a few oils maybe. Okay, now for starting brushes, I'm thinking I'm gonna start out with, I'll start painting the cherry first. I like to use these number 4 brushes. So I'm gonna grab both of my number 4 Josol Blender Princeton Velvet Touch brushes. Might be hard to see the label on it, but they're the Princeton Velvetouch series brushes. And so I like to start out with those. I'm thinking, what else can I do? I'm gonna have to move my camera over so you can see me while I'm painting because my easel's a little bit over. And I will come back here and move that for you guys. Slowly move it over here. There we go. I think that should be far enough now. You can see the cat tree and a little bit of my camera there. I'm gonna set up the camera too for make sure that's ready for time-lapse video. I will turn on this light. It's been really dark outside lately. We got a bit of sun last week. It was nice to finally see the sun coming in. I'm glad about that. I'm going to switch to the paint scene now. So that's my little sketch that I've got going on over here. Okay, hopefully the light turned my other light on, so it's hopefully bright enough for you guys there. Oh, there we go. I can turn up the light a little bit. There we go. And then we will start painting. I got to erase the sketch a little bit. So I will take my little gummy eraser. Got my gummy eraser here. I'm gonna erase the sketch. I hope the lighting is okay. It's making my hand look a little oversaturated actually. We'll see how this goes. We'll see. Okay. Yeah, it was getting a little bit sunny, but it's still cold. Still a little chilly. I was surprised how cold it was the other day when we were picking up our kiddo from school. Okay, so I'm just taking away a bit of the graphite so we don't get that mixed in with the oil paint. I just did a very basic sketch just for the basic shapes because we're gonna paint everything on anyway, so we don't really need a super fancy sketch, just a general idea of like where everything's gonna sit. I'm gonna grab my phone so I can film a little shorts content too for you guys. The one thing I've been practicing doing more is like voiceovers too. So for my shorts content, I've been working on getting like more voiceovers on them, telling some stories and stuff while I do the voiceovers, which has been kind of fun. I like being able to do some writing and like tell some different stories about my life. So I'm just setting this up. Started writing this week's kind of been about like love stories. So me and my husband's like relationship and how we met and different like little aspects about our relationship. So I don't normally share that stuff. So it's kind of nice to like write about that and like talk about it more. We met swing dancing. That was like a reversed Cinderella story. That's what I always call it, because he left his shoes at dance and I was coordinating the dances. I ran a lot of the swing dances in town for a while there, and yeah, he left his shoes and then he went sailing because he was in the Navy at the time. He went sailing for a few months and he realized he left his shoes, so he contacted me and I held on to his shoes for like 2 months, and that kind of like I guess sparked a conversation between us, and we just like chatted the whole time he was gone. So it was like a nice way to get to know each other, actually. That was such a nice way to get to know each other. And obviously it worked out because we're married now. I realized this year we've been married for 9 years. 9 years on March 3rd. So, okay, so we're gonna start out with the colors here. We're gonna do the cherry. I'm gonna start out, I think, with this darker red. I'm not gonna start out with that like super dark color yet. We'll kind of add that in after. But we'll start out with the red and we'll just highlight these different colors here. Got like little cat hairs. Yeah. And I think, yeah, this is in view enough so you can see when I'm cleaning off my brush a little bit. So got that darker red on the edge there. And the edges don't need to be super clean yet because we're going to also do a background. We've got kind of this darker color in here. Get a little bit more of that. And then our other dark color is kind of around the edge here on this cherry. I try to do a lot of this with like one brush, just so I have less brushes to clean at the end of it. And like I said, don't worry too much about those kind of like darker highlights yet. We're gonna add those darker reflections. I guess they're not really highlights, they're reflections. So there's light bouncing off the shiny surface. That's what that is. And then we've also got a little bit dark there too. Now we're going to work on the next color. I'm going to clean this off the brush a little bit so we don't get it mixed too much. And we'll work on this next color. It's like an orangey red color that we got going on. We're going to slowly add that there, just on the edge a little bit. I don't want too much of this color because it is like desaturated quite a bit, to bring in more of the saturated colors. Okay. And then we're going to grab some of this color here that we made with the quinacridone, magenta, and cadmium red. We're going to just slowly add that in because that's going to be a more saturated color. And you don't need to really blend it a ton right now. We can always go back and blend it in with the other colors after. We're just kind of laying it down very lightly to get kind of a base layer. We're almost doing like an underpainting but with the color. I like to add multiple layers to things just because it gives it a little bit more depth. And we'll do this area here on the edges. Putting a bit more of this on the edges. Just trying to make the shape of the cherry at this point. There's some like highlighted areas near the top here, so we'll leave a little bit of room for those brighter highlights. Make sure we don't cover the highlight areas because it'll be hard to make them super bright if we cover them up with too much of this red pigment. You'd have to wait until it's like dry, which is fine. So like if you add too much, you can always come back in later when your paint is dry and like add a little bit more if you need to. Kind of love that about painting. You can come back and fix it another day if you want. I try to do all my paintings a la prima though, and like finish either in like 1-2 sittings, maybe at max. There's been a few paintings I've done, I think it maybe took me like 4 days for a few of them that had a bit more detail. But I kind of like doing them all in one sitting if I can. Just because I feel like I get too perfectionist about the painting if I start adding too much detail. It's nice to have time limits. Okay, that's slowly coming together. I'm going to clean off my brush again. I'm try to add more of that really bright red to it. You want a slightly clean brush for that so we're not mixing a ton of the blue pigment in there. Okay. Bit more of this red pigment in there. Starting to come together. How does the colors look? They look pretty bright on screen. Maybe I did go a little crazy with the saturation, eh? We'll get it right at some point. Okay. Okay. Now I'm going to start adding in this lighter color that we made. Just very lightly around the edges. We don't want to go in the middle yet. I'm just kind of blending this color into the edges of the brighter one. And then the middle is going to be that nice bright highlight with the blue. Okay. Then we're going to add this nice bright blue color to the middle. Try not to blend it out right away. We'll just add it in and then we'll go over it a little bit. Just going to clean off my brush a bit before I blend around the edges of that really bright white, so I don't mix a lot of other pigment in there. I feel like I am going to let me turn down the saturation a bit. Maybe that'll help. I think it was like a little too saturated on the screen. Okay, we're gonna blend this in a little bit. But we want to keep a lot of that bright highlight in the middle. So we're just blending the edges a little bit. Then we can go back in and we can always add a little bit more of that bright highlight as well. Don't like to make the highlight too thick, so I'm just kind of taking a little paint off of the highlight. And that's like looking pretty good now, and we can start to add like more details in the cherries now, so there's more definition in the cherries. I can start adding some of those. So we're gonna grab a little bit of this like peachy red color. One of the highlight colors there, the more peachy one. I'm going to start to add those extra highlights along the edges of the cherry that aren't quite super bright, but they're lighter than the rest. Add those like reflections and stuff in. And this will start to add a bit of dimension to things, and then we'll also go in and we'll add kind of like a little bit more like speckles and stuff in the bottom sections of the cherry. And we can go in and make them a little bit brighter at the end, but right now we're just kind of like laying out where they are on the image. And then we also have a bit more over here in this area, bit of a reflection like off the ground. And then we've also got some reflections on this one over here as well. You'll start to notice it takes shape when you get these little reflections in. I find the reflections really help define the shape of the cherry. That really adds so much when you add those in. Okay, and we can even add a little bit of the bluish color too into those reflections. There's a bit of bluish color in some of those. Just a little bit. Not too crazy. There's a bit up here. And I notice there's a bit of a reflection down here that's a bit bluer as well. To maybe add a bit more on my brush. Kind of trying to add it just on like the tip area, just so it can always go in with a thinner brush at some point too and add a bit more. Trying to use my bigger brushes right now. We can always go back in with some of the tinier brushes closer to the end. And then there's also a little bit here actually. Okay, that's looking good. So now I'm gonna actually get one of these. That tiny highlight at the edge, didn't even see it at the start. Yeah, there's just like a little, like this one or like this highlight. There's just like little subtle ones here and there. You'll miss them if you're not paying attention. So I'm just using this brush to kind of blend them out a little bit so they're a little bit more subtle on the edges. I'm going to blend out some of those colors now. I'm actually going to bring some of this dark color into it now with this brush. So I'm going to take this kind of purplish color and we're going to like kind of speckle around here. Just to like add a bit more depth in. Not too much, don't blend it out too much. End up with a really kind of like muddy color in there. Just kind of dotting it on just to get a bit. This is when these like kind of old brushes that are frayed on the end come in handy because you can add a lot of texture with brushes like this. So never throw out your old frayed brushes. They're really good for adding like texture. And if you don't have any old frayed ones, just go to the dollar store or something and get a pack of really cheap brushes and like fray the ends of them. Yeah, and that'll start to add a little bit of texture. I also want to add a bit of lighter texture to it too, so I'm going to grab this like reddish color. I'm going to be in another meeting soon. Oh, okay, hun. Husband's got lots of meetings right now. Just adding that brighter color in there. It's gonna give us a little bit more texture. Now I noticed there is some lighter parts that kind of have this like almost yellowish tone to them. They're almost similar to like this color that we made, except a little bit more on this red end here. I think we can use a mix of like this red, just put it on the tip of it, and we can kind of dot this on even in certain areas. So we'll just add a little bit of texture too. You don't want to add too much of this. We're using very, very light dabbing. You also don't have to add all this detail, but I like to add all of the like little depth to the cherries. Okay, I'm gonna grab my more fine liner brush because we got to add a little bit more depth in some areas. So I'm gonna grab the 10/0 liner brush by Princeton, and there is some like darker lines in the cherry on the one section, so I'm gonna add that darker line in here. I'm gonna actually add a little bit of this medium to it, just so it spreads a little bit easier, makes it a little bit more like transparent as well. Transparent is just kind of see-through. So we're going to add a line here, and it kind of goes into this and to this area here. And obviously this line is really dark, but we're going to fix that. I'm also going to add the line through the white a little bit, very lightly add it through the white. And what you can do is you can dab that off a little bit, and we can add a little bit more of the medium to it, and then what we'll do is we'll take this little dabber brush we were using. Might just grab a clean one. I have two of these. I'm gonna grab a clean one. I'm gonna take this line and I'm just gonna kind of lighten it by dabbing it and working that line into it a bit, because I don't really want that super bright. Be really careful in the highlight when we're dabbing it too. Don't want to add too much red into the highlight area. So that should keep that line there. And I'm going to actually take this darker color, and I noticed that there is more of like a darker area here as well on the edge. So I'm going to take that and kind of curve it around. It like almost joins up with the line there. And then we'll take this little dry brush that we have. It's like a dry brushing technique that I like using, where you take the dry little brush, dab it off. I have got another cloth here, but here. Dab it off here, and then you go back in and just keep dabbing it off as much as you need to take. You're almost kind of taking some of the pigment off as you dab it. And that's just going to add a little bit of depth there if we start adding some of this darker lines on the edges. And I do want the cherries to like touch in the middle, because I think that looks really cute. So I'm going to extend the cherries out a little bit so they touch. Grab some of this darker red, go back into the medium. Just until they're just touching on the edge. Use this brush to extend it a little bit. Like I said, the edge doesn't have to be perfect because we're going to go around with a background color anyway. If you're not doing the background color, just be really careful on the edges and try to sharpen them up with like a liner brush like this. Like you can sharpen the edges up pretty good with a liner brush and a little bit of a steady hand. Make sure you're resting your hand on something when you're doing like really fine details. I have a pretty shaky hand, so but as long as my hand is on something, I'm okay. I want them to like to actually be touching on the side, so I'm just doing it very slowly till they're touching. They're such cute little cherries beside each other. As we add those dark lines around the edges, it'll really start to pop too. So definitely don't skip this part. Make sure you add those nice solid edges. And now there's kind of like a line that goes here into this area. Because cherries always kind of have that like little line going through it. We're blending that line out a little bit so it's not too prominent. And so this, the stem here actually kind of goes on top of it. So we're gonna add green kind of back in that area. We can always come back to the cherries at the end if we need to add a bit more highlights and stuff too, because once you get the background on, you might end up wanting to add bit extra in certain areas. I'm gonna add the base of like the edges for now before we do the stems. Okay, let's see. Going to take this little brush along the edge again. That'll kind of lighten it. Might go back into this area and like add a little bit more of this light color too, where the highlights are. Nice that laptops work on a power outage moment, but not the Wi-Fi. Oh no! Yeah, there's been a lot of power outages lately all over the place. I know like here in Canada there's been some power outages, and then I have some friends in Australia and they had like a big storm recently in like Melbourne area. And their power was out for quite a while as well. So I feel like we get a lot of power outages too in our area, and it's always like our neighbors end up getting power and then like we're stuck without power. We're like right on the cusp of like the city power and the like kind of rural power grid. They just need to put us on the main city power grid, because I feel like we are just, anytime the trees fall over on the power lines, it like goes out. Like I said, the block like next to us still has power and we're like without power. You can like see their lights on across the street. Every time we have a power outage too, it's funny because we'll be like, oh yeah, we should really like be more prepared for this. Something like that. I heard of an area here and really had 2 weeks. Oh my gosh, yes. Growing up, I had a really long power outage at one point. Everyone was out power for like a few weeks as well. I grew up in like rural Ontario, and they just don't fix things as quickly. And it was like the middle of winter too. Like it's cold here. We're all like huddled. Most of the farms had like backup generators and stuff, so most people just like went to people's like farmhouses because they all had backup generators. But yeah, we survived. I don't think they let the power go out that much in the city though. I think the longest was maybe like three days maybe here, 2 or 3 days. It was cutting it close to 3 days, I'm pretty sure. So not horrible. They normally can get the power fixed within 24 hours though. Okay, the cherries are getting there. I hope your power doesn't go out for a long period of time. It's like the worst. You realize like how much you appreciate the power when it goes out. And then you also realize that like people like 100 years ago, like are living on candlelight and stuff. Actually, I can't remember. When did the light bulbs come around? But 100 years ago, I would say. I am glad I grew up with technology and I didn't have to live in those times, that's for sure. I feel very fortunate to grow up in these times versus no power. Sucks when it's off, then back on, then off again shortly after. Yeah, or it's just like on and off all the time. Must be them like playing with the settings, trying to fix it somehow. Okay, I'm just adding this like darker color in there because I felt like we needed some of that darker color back in there again. Just to add a little bit of depth to that area. I feel like we're definitely going to need. Slowly add that darker line back in again. Just kind of pushing and pulling the colors. That's what I like to call it. Way off. 1802. First electric light. Okay. Okay. See, they don't do enough history class here in Canada. Or it definitely was not my favorite subject. I guess it depends on where you live too, right? Because I assume power took a while to like get everywhere, right? I guess they had like the gas powered bulbs beforehand too. Well, I guess they weren't bulbs, they were literally fire, right? You know, it's funny. It's one of the things me and my husband talk about. We're both like really bad with like remembering dates of things. Like we forget our own like anniversary dates and stuff sometimes. We're like, when was that again? Oh man, at least we're together. We can forget together. I was born and raised in Germany, found out living here in the US, see a big difference. Yeah, yeah, I actually had, so my great grandparents grew up in Germany as well. And my, yeah, I guess my grandparents were born here though. So I'm like fourth generation German. And yeah, very different. We definitely live a very different life here in Canada compared to Germany. They were right on the border of Germany and France. So a lot of my ancestors are from Germany and France, which is pretty cool. I've never actually traveled over there, but I've always wanted to. I'm a little slow, so I'm behind in the stream, but I'm really enjoying the demo. Oh, you're welcome. Thanks for hanging out and being here today. It's like so nice that I get to like do this on Valentine's Day too. I looked ahead too, and apparently Wednesday is when Christmas is this year too, so I'll get to also have a Christmas stream with you guys. So we're hitting all the holidays this year for the Wednesday streams. Same here, about 3 hours from the border. Okay, yeah, we were in the border there. Well, not we, but my grandparents. It would be so cool to go visit though. I actually have met a few artists online that are from like Germany, and they're like, if you come to Germany, you can come stay with us. And I'm like, that would be so cool. Like I'd love to go to Germany and like do some painting there. It'd be so fun to like hang out with other artists there. Oh, there's so many artists I want to visit all over the world. Black Forest nearby too. Okay. Yeah, I think it would be so cool to like, I don't know. I think at some point I'd like to do some sort of like painting retreat or something, like host a little painting retreat. I see all of the artists doing those like cool painting retreats where like everyone comes and, you know, get to like paint together and like have like a little vacation together. I feel like that would be really fun someday. Into the future. Those are the plans. Because I just wanna keep painting. I am so glad that I started these like painting accounts. Like I guess I pretty much started posting like a year and a bit ago on these accounts. So I'm like, it's just so much nicer to paint with like other people and not just like by myself anymore. I love having like the community around it and like hanging out with all of you guys. Because like I was painting anyway, so I might as well do it with people because it's more fun that way. And then we can all like hang out. And I feel like I've met so many artists since I started the account too. Like that is my absolute favorite part. Like just all of the amazing people from all over the world that you meet with social media. Like we're so lucky to live in this time to be able to like connect with people all over the world. I just love that. You're still young. It can still happen. Yeah, I'm actually turning 30 this year. So I will be 30 this year. Oh, hitting my 30s this year. I'm ready for it. I'm ready to be out of my 20s and into my 30s. Doesn't feel like much has changed though. I still feel the same. Some people feel like this shift happens when they're 30, but I'm Still gonna be the crazy artist over here into my late years. My husband were talking about this because he's just like, would you want to do anything else like after like this art thing that you're doing? And I'm like, no, like I'm planning to do this the rest of my life. Like I love art so much. Like it's always been a huge part of my life, and I can't imagine like not having this community now. I just love it so much. Big 5 on here. I feel like 33 most of the time. Exactly, right? I feel like I don't know. Age is just a number. It really is. You can live your life, and it doesn't have to revolve around like, oh, I'm 30, my life is over, or oh, I'm 40 or 50, right? I hear a lot of that, and I'm like, no, my life is not over when I hit 30. That's for sure. I am still going to be I am just a big kid forever and always. I still want to have that kid sense of wonder, and I just love it because like our son, he's turning 8 this year, and it's just so cool to like see how magical everything is for him. I love watching him do things and explore new things, and everything's just so magical for kids. I want to keep that with myself. 50's the new 30. That made make you feel old. Hey, I mean, I want when I'm 50, I want to feel 30 still. So I will say the same thing. Okay, we are getting there. We've highlighted this whole area now, and I think that looks pretty good. And we can come back and like touch it up if we need to, but I don't want to add too much to that. I think I'm going to start adding on to the green stem now. Oh man. And my husband, what did he turn? He turned 37 this year, so got a bit of an age gap, but we're both going to be in our 30s. Him more so in his late 30s. Sounds good. Okay, I'm just cleaning off this brush a little bit because we're going to dip it into the green paint. I'm using a liner brush for the green because I think it will be really hard to put these kind of like lines on if we don't use the liner brush. It's a very small painting. Feel free to use like a bigger piece of paper if you would like to too, but it's a nice little challenge to have the smaller pieces. So I'm just going to bring a bit of this green over here, and I'm going to put a bit of the solvent-free gel in it. You could also just put a little bit of linseed oil if you're using oil paint. I try not to, well, I don't use solvents in like my oil painting. I made a video about the solvent-free oil painting that I do because I know a lot of artists still use solvents in their work, but I try to avoid it because I know that solvents really isn't good for your health. It'll help you live longer since we're talking about age. Just like less risk if we avoid solvents, right? Okay, I gotta move this. I've got the arrow here. So yeah, we're working on probably this green section here. Move this over here. Okay, so it looks like the darker areas are going to be kind of around this inner edge on this part of the cherry. And we're just laying in like these darker colors. So we've also got this part here a bit darker. Don't worry too much about making it like perfect to start with. Just try to get those darker bits. So there's also this area on the side. It kind of touches the cherry along the side here too. So color when we get up to the top, but we've got also kind of along the edge. With oil paints, you want to work from dark to light. That's one of the rules that I like to follow because it is harder to make things dark again once you start adding like the white or the lighter pigments. I think it's kind of the opposite for like watercolor and stuff, right? You want to start out with your lightest colors and then move to your darker colors. So, and for acrylic paints, it's kind of, you're almost like building up your colors with acrylic paints. All mediums have their own like little rules around them, but I was actually saying the other day that you don't have to follow the rules exactly, because I think it's okay to break rules in art. I have been told I do things the wrong way a lot, and but I'm happy with the way that I do things, so that's all that really matters, is that you are happy with like the outcome. So if something that I'm saying does not work for you, then definitely try it like a different way, and then you'll kind of like slowly come into your own style that way. I feel like I've come into my own style over the last couple of years because I've just kind of listened to like what's best for me and what I enjoy doing. I am just adding a little bit over here, and then we'll slowly start adding the other colors because I think we've got enough of the darker color. My phone keeps moving. I think I keep bumping it. Okay, we will, I think, go with, yeah, I'm definitely bumping my like camera because I'm like, that's a little off. I need to come up with a better solution for this like webcam. I've got it like sticky tacked to the top of my like other camera that I'm like shooting my time lapse with. Works for now, but maybe there's like some sort of like better mount that I could get for it so it doesn't shift as much on us. Always looking at improving the stream for you guys. So we're adding in this slightly brighter green now, the second color down from that dark one. I'm gonna add that like pretty close to the darker areas. It doesn't have to be a perfect line by any means. It can be kind of jagged because we're going to add other colors in there anyway. And then we're going to also, this is kind of a darker area too, so we're going to put a decent amount of this like darker green over here on that edge. Okay, we'll go into this next color. I should actually clean off my brush a little bit there. So get that nice bright green next that we made. I'm going to grab a bit of the solvent-free gel Just gonna mix it in a little bit with this green to make it glide a little bit better. I find once it starts, maybe a little bit of linseed oil to make it more watery. Once you start adding in titanium white, I find the paint doesn't glide as much. So I add a little bit more medium with it, which does make it a bit transparent, but titanium white is a pretty opaque color, so you can't really see through it as much. So adding a bit more linseed oil to it doesn't affect the consistency too much. Or it affects the consistency, but it doesn't affect the color. Now we're adding this kind of like brighter green color. Even add a little bit more linseed oil if we want there. I think the rule of thumb is just don't add more than like 25% medium to your paint, to like your pigment that you already have, because this paint already does have a little bit of linseed oil, at least this brand. Some other brands use like walnut oil, that's another popular one. Speaking of shift, I need to shift my butt in the kitchen for a quick moment to grab lunch. I know I gotta figure out what I'm gonna make. I gotta actually order groceries because we are running low on groceries. Don't actually know what we're gonna make tonight. Maybe I'll make just like go into the pantry and grab some lentils and make some like lentil soup with the extra veggies that we have. I have a few frozen veggies and lentils. I think we have some broth in the cupboard, so something simple tonight. Then I will order groceries. I picked out a bunch of recipes that I want to cook next week. So I'm going to see if I can get all of the ingredients for it. Stores have been low on a lot of different ingredients lately. Every time I order, there's always like items that they don't have. So hopefully we can get everything for the recipes we want. Okay, I'm adding this green to the side. And it's kind of like lighter near the bottom area there, so I'm just leaving it kind of blank there for now. We can add that lighter green to it. What size canvas panels are these? So I'm using this is Archie's oil painting paper, and I cut it up into 3 inches by 3 inches, which my husband just gave me the conversion for it. It's in centimeters, it's 7.6 something centimeters. Can't remember what he said. I think it's like 7.6 centimeters. So depending on which system you use, but yeah, it's 3 inches. I like to use the square size too, but you guys are welcome to cut it up whatever size you would like. So yeah, it's pretty tiny. Like my hand here is it's pretty tiny. I feel like I've just always gravitated towards like little things. I was actually saying the other day to another artist, she was like asking me why I paint on like such small canvases, and I realized I've always just painted small because I actually used to be a nail technician. I used to do gel nails at a salon for a little bit there. I did nail technician training, and I did that for a little bit. And yeah, I've always loved painting like really tiny. So yeah, I think my love for these tiny ones comes from like being a nail tech before. So I used to paint like on even smaller canvases because they were like literally people's nails. So that was even more of a challenge to like paint on people's nails. But I discovered that I actually just like painting on my own and not really on people's nails as much. It was a nice job though. It was very rewarding because, you know, people come in and you can like make people feel really good when they leave, right? Because you're like doing something like self-care for them. I had a salon for 32 years. So I also did nails. Okay. So you're probably familiar with the small size too with nails. Yeah, it was cool. I thought about like having my own like little salon out of my home there for a bit, but then I had my son and I was like, well, maybe I'll do something different. So I was a stay-at-home mom for, well, I guess I still am a stay-at-home mom and I am an artist. And so I do this and the stay-at-home mom thing full time. He's in school now though, so I can do more art, which is kind of nice. And so I spend most of my days like painting and doing my art stuff. And don't know where I was going with that, but yeah, I just never ended up kind of like continuing with the nail tech stuff. I still have some of my nail tech stuff actually upstairs. I do my own like nails sometimes. I still have like my UV lights because I used to do gel nails, so I have that. So I still have all of those like lights and stuff still. The one thing I've thought about doing more of is like the polymer clay art. I bought polymer clay last year and I was like trying to make like little like mushrooms out of them. They actually turned out pretty cute. I have like one here. Actually have one here. It's yeah, I made like little mushrooms out of like polymer clay. And so I wanted to make like a little fairy garden. But I'm like, it would be cool to do like more polymer clay stuff. I retired February in 2021. Okay. So did little mini landscapes are so cute. I love that. I love landscape painting too. I don't do enough of it, but I used to do more landscape painting. Obviously, my favorite painter is Bob Ross. I love him. I used to watch a lot of Bob Ross as a kid. The one other art show I used to watch as a kid too was like, it was like this British art show. I don't know if you guys would know it, but it's called Art Attack. And they ran them here in Canada for a while, but it's a British show. And Art Attack was the best. I watched so much Art Attack. I was a 90s kid, so watched a lot of Art Attack. He got me into making a ton of art as a kid. He had these giant things that he would call art attacks, and he would do kind of like, he would use random items and make like these giant, like, I guess, what would you call it? Like not murals, but like these giant things like in grassy fields, and he would create these giant masterpieces out of like things like clothing or just like construction supplies or whatever they had around that area. And it was, love that show. It was like such a creative show. I'm in Texas. Okay, Texas. I've never been to Texas before. The only US places I've been was my family did a road trip down to Florida from Ontario. So we went through like the Carolinas and Ohio, like that area. And then I've also been to Seattle too, because I was saying I used to, well, I still swing dance quite a bit, but there's a lot of like swing and blues dancing in Seattle. So I went there a few times now to Seattle for dancing. But yeah, never Texas. I've always wanted to travel more in the US and see all of the different states. That would be cool. Do more of a road trip at some point. Do a road trip and paint while I'm doing a road trip. That would be fun. A painting road trip. Okay, I'm using a bit of this blue as the highlight as well. So I'm gonna go in, it's like a bluish white highlight, just adding a little bit of the medium to it to make it a little bit more runny. And I'm gonna add this in to the bright kind of sections here. You need to see the blue bonnets. Okay, I've never heard of that before. I'm gonna have to look that up after. I don't know too much about the US, to be honest. I know where Texas is. It's more at the bottom. It's like one of the more southern states. But I don't know too much about like all the sites and stuff to see. So I would like to travel around and see more of it. I have some friends in the US too, so probably try to like friend hop around the US and see more. I've also heard as a Canadian it's like cheaper to like travel in the US versus Canada. I feel like it's so expensive to like travel here in Canada. Every time we've like done road trips and stuff here, it's just like very expensive. Like, you guys have like cheaper hotels and stuff there. Like, hotels are a little ridiculous here right now. I heard that for like the summer season, most hotels, like, I don't actually know what the conversion is right now for Canadian and US dollars, but I know it is probably ridiculous. Last time I looked at it, I'm like, oh my gosh. But like hotels are going for like $500 a night here. Like even just like basic hotels. Like even the motels are like $300-400. I guess the travel season's hurting some people. We have oceans of blue flowers in the spring. Oh, that sounds so nice. I love blue flowers. One of my favorite blue flowers is those like little forget-me-nots. I actually love gardening. Gardening is another one of like my passions that I love doing. Mostly food gardening, but I definitely have some flowers I really like. Oh, I also really love bleeding hearts, which is like perfect for Valentine's Day. Little bleeding hearts. Oh, the Canadian dollar is 0.72 US. Okay. So yeah, decent conversion there. It's expensive here, that's for sure. I don't know, man. Canada's got some issues here. I know it's expensive everywhere, but I feel like our city is ridiculous because we live on Vancouver Island, in Victoria, and it's what did they say, hon? It's like the most expensive or one of the most expensive cities in like North America or something right now. I think Vancouver and Toronto are part of it too, obviously. They're really expensive. Well, it's up to, okay, very similar. Okay, I'm gonna add some of this darker green too, because I feel like we went a little too light in some of the areas. So I'm gonna add a little bit of the darker green back into it, because I feel like that would be nice. Gotta remember to like record on my phone too. Okay, let me add just a little bit of the dark color to this edge. And we can touch up the edges a bit more when we add the background, because we'll be adding a pink background in there as well. Okay, that's looking pretty good. Definitely needed to add a bit of darkness back into there. Kind of just pushing and pulling the color, like I said, until it looks about what we want. I could even grab a finer line brush if I wanted to, I guess, to make those lines a little bit more prominent, I guess. It's pretty good. And then just kind of blending it out with a smaller brush as well. Kind of just going in there. Gonna have to probably add a little bit more of the darker color, kind of like down in this area as well. Go back into here. And then at the end, we'll also probably come back in and add a little bit more. I might actually add a little bit of this dark purple to the green to deepen the color a bit. Sometimes the color is not quite there. I've added a little bit too much of the light color, so I'm just adding some of that deeper color back in again, just to go around the edges. Like I said, we might want to come back in with it after we add the background in as well. And then we'll probably add a bit more highlights in here as well. But that's like getting pretty close now to what we want. Okay, now I'm gonna start. So we've got like this area here that has like the brownish green to it. So I'm just gonna clean off my liner brush. I'm gonna keep using the liner brush because it's working really well for those really small details. And again, this is the 10/0 liner brush by Princeton, the Velvet Touch series. I really like the Princeton brushes. I would like to try some other ones as well. I've heard like Rosemary and Co brushes are really nice. I'm saving up for that currently. I'd like to make a decently big order when I order because they're like from Europe, I think they come from. So I'm sure I would like to just order once if I can for those brushes and try them out. I'm going to start off with the darker brown here. And we're going to put the darker brown around the edge of that. There's not too much of this darker color. I'm just going to dab it on those areas, and then I'm going to clean off my brush a little bit more, and we're going to add this lighter one as well. I got to clean off my brush a bit. top section. We're going to leave some areas so we can add a bit of green to it as well. So it's almost got kind of like a light green intertwined in there. Like rows of this beige color and then like rows of the green color. So and a little bit more of this darker color, some like darker areas on top of the beige. So I'm just adding a bit of that. Those details are very small, so we're just adding like very select details there. We don't need to add too much. And then we will go in with the kind of like lighter green here. This lightest green that we made. And we will add that just like a little bit in between. Just keep dabbing into the green so it doesn't mix in with the beige too much. Looks pretty good. Okay, it's pretty accurate there now. Okay, and then I'm gonna also grab, so we haven't used this number 4 brush yet. I'm debating on if I should use the number 4 brush or the number 6 brush for the background. I'm thinking I might go with the number 6 and maybe I can switch to the number 4 around some of the details. But we're gonna start out with this darker pink near the top. And then it kind of almost gets, so like as we go from this outside area into here, it gets a little bit lighter as we go down in here. So we're gonna try to create that effect a bit. Now the heart is fully formed. I know it looks so cute with the little heart. I love this reference photo, it's so cute. Okay, we will, oh, I got a cat hair on there. Trying to get cat hairs out of my brush. Okay. We will paint the corners this nice pink color. Such a pretty pink. I'll try to make both of these corners a little bit darker. And we're going to blend the colors afterwards, so don't worry too much about blending the pink background right away. I have like a special little blender brush that I like using afterwards, or you can just use like a dry brush after to blend it out. We're just slowly adding this color in. I will go closer to the cherry after with my better liner brush. And we'll touch up the lines around the cherry more. I like it. Yeah, I like it too. I think it's like looking pretty cute. I feel like I was able to get the colors to look a little bit better today too on screen. I played around with like the saturation and stuff a bit more. So I think that helped for sure. Colors are a little bit more accurate on screen, but like I said, I will post a photo of like my finished painting afterwards, probably like on Instagram and Facebook. I post the most on Instagram and Facebook. I do try to post reels on here daily as well, whether it's new work or some old work, to just keep active on here. I'm gonna bring this down to here, and then this is gonna kind of be a lighter color in here, and then it's gonna get more purpley as we go into there. So I'm gonna not bring this pink down all the way to the bottom. It's just gonna kind of cut off around here. And then I've got a slightly lighter color kind of in between the cherries. I'm gonna grab this lighter color. Okay, I have to be really careful near the green so we don't mix the colors. Oops. Need the lighter pink. Such a nice pink for the heart in the middle. I feel like it goes with the seam and the theme perfectly. I am very much happy with this painting already. I just love it. It's so cute. Maybe I'll put this up in my husband's office, so it reminds him how much I love him every day. Put it on a cute little easel for you, hun. A little Valentine's Day painting. I actually did a Valentine's Day painting for my husband already. I made him like cute little candy hearts with like little sayings on them. And I love that one too. He said he wants more paintings for his office, so I'll just keep making cutesy paintings like this for him. We'll have to frame all of the little paintings behind you so all your colleagues can see them in their meetings. Okay, I'm just trying to like bring it as close to the edges now. Just very carefully bringing it close. I might have to use a liner brush to get it even closer, but let's see if we can do it with this brush. I think that's the hardest part about adding backgrounds, is being very, very gentle as you're adding in the background so you don't go over the edges too much. There. just want to make hearts with all of my fruit now. This is so cute. Guess how many time-lapse photos we've taken so far. Oh man. It's so crazy when I look at the time-lapse footage and I'm like, how many photos has this camera taken? Because I'm filming the time-lapse here right now. It's taken 2,440 pictures so far. So many pictures are needed to make the time-lapse videos. Okay, it's getting closer here. Really don't want to mess up the shape of the heart because I really like it, so I'm going really slow. Of that. 31, 33, yes. Yeah, I think by the end we'll probably be, might be over 3,000 by the end. Depends on how quickly I add this background. I try to finish it before the 3 hours of the stream is up because I don't want to go past 3 hours and make these tutorials super long, so I tried to limit myself to 3 hours, so I picked easier subject matter for these to not be too difficult. I had a lot of people suggest that I should pick really easy subject matter, so then it's a bit easier for beginners to try some of these. So that's what I've been doing, is I've been trying to make sure that I have paintings that I can do within the 3-hour sitting. I think the longest part for a lot of people at the start though is the color mixing. Mixing paint is one of those things that just gets easier over time, so the more you do it, the easier it'll start to become. But it's definitely a struggle at the beginning when you're first learning how to mix paint. Okay, these areas might be a little hard to do with this brush. Let's see. We've got to use the corner of my brush. I could just use a smaller brush, but I'm being stubborn right now. Okay. I got it on the cherry a little bit, so I'm just, there we go. I think we will grab, so I have this little blender brush here. It's called a mini mop brush, and I find it makes blending a little bit easier. So I take it just a dry brush and start out from the darkest color, and as it picks up color on the end, I just dab it off. So here, I kind of hold this here so I'm not shaking the easel a ton. And you want to keep like dabbing it off and brushing it around. And that'll give you a smoother transition. I find these brushes are so handy to have. And they're also just like so adorable. I love these brushes, they look so cute. And we're slowly getting into this lighter color, and it takes out kind of like those brush strokes when you use the mini mop brush. It gives you that smoother texture. It's especially nice for like the, in photography, how they have those like blurry bokeh backgrounds. It's really nice for like creating that. And see how it's just like smoothed out a little bit. I don't know if you can see that really well on there, but you'll see that it's just like a lot smoother with this brush on this side compared to the other side that we haven't done yet. Just gonna work our way around. Keep dabbing it off. Go and get it as close to the edge as you can with this brush without touching the green anyway. And there, now like the center is more of that lighter color and the outside has that darker color, so it kind of makes the heart stand out a little bit since it's a bit lighter. Go. I'm going to use this brush in the middle of it to take off some of the pigment and the paint, just because I put a little too much in here. We want that soft kind of brush stroke in the middle as well. We'll come in with another brush and kind of touch up those edges as well. But that's pretty good. So that made it a little bit smoother there. Okay, I'll set that to the side, and then we're also going to start doing kind of like that lightish purple down at the bottom now. So I'm going to take this number 6 brush again. I'm going to clean it off a bit, and we're going to start with the lighter kind of color there. Might actually need to lift these up and give ourselves a fresh cloth to work with. There we go. Cloth is just getting very dirty. This is just an old cut up towel. Just cut up some old towels to use as these. Just make sure you're using a rag or a cloth that isn't going to have a ton of fuzzies and stuff coming off. Pretty much have the pigment out of that, and now I can start using this almost like purpley white color that we made. So we're gonna just add this on this line here. We'll try to make the line a little bit more prominent. And the line is almost faded a little bit, so we'll go back in and we'll kind of blur that out a bit too. And we'll put a little bit of this color in the center area as well. Kind of almost fades in between the cherries here. Okay, and then we can start adding in more of that purpley color that we mixed. So we're going to start to go into this purpley color now. And then these shadows are going to be a more darker purple. And the shadows almost kind of come around and like curve in this area. And then we'll go back in and add some like darker shadows as well. Okay, and then this is going to be the darker area here. And we're going to go in with this, such a nice purple, this one. And it's going to be kind of like this lighter color here, and then it's going to get a little darker as it gets closer. And I tried to keep this one a little bit more saturated than the reference photo because I really wanted this nice bright kind of purple. Some of this lighter color along the edges too, just to kind of fade those. And then we've got, it's a little bit darker as we get up here. And then we've also got, I'm gonna have to use my liner brush again to get that like really dark area. So the shadow right underneath the cherry. Just cleaning that off because it had a bit of green on it still. Okay, we should be able to dip that into this kind of like purplish color now. And that'll be the dark part of the shadow. Purple is one of my favorite colors to use as a shadow color. Kind of curves on the edges too, so I'm gonna try to curve it a little bit. I'll go back in with this purple. You should be able to fade this out a little bit. Just take your time with the shadow. Really fade it into this purple. And then we'll kind of go on the top area. I'm gonna grab, I have a 20/0 one as well. Drained from all the meetings. Yeah, a lot of meetings today at work. Kind of a mix of this purple color, but also the lighter color as well. I'm just kind of coming in and like touching up the edges here. There's so many meetings, yeah. Well, at least it's like almost the end of the workday. I get to just chill later. I think my husband might need the foot rub tonight. He's going, I was saying earlier in the stream, like he's going through a job transition. And job transitions are stressful. No matter how prepared you are, it's still stressful to shift and do something new or change your job. It's always going to be like a transition period. I'm going to make this a little bit. I'll clean one of these off at the end and I'll kind of fade that out a little bit more. But for now, I will just keep it like that. But we'll fade the line kind of on the edges near the end because I don't want them to be that thick, kind of like we did with the other one. I wrote down all the things I need to pick up now that my course is over. Oh yeah, my husband just finished a course. He was doing a coding boot camp. He just finished. That was a long boot camp that he did. Very time intensive, but I'm glad that he's done and he has the skills now. Helpful for his job to have those extra skills. I'm actually doing a course right now too. I guess I don't know if I talked about it on stream yet, but I've talked about it in my stories a little bit, but I'm doing like a digital marketing and e-commerce certificate right now with Google. It's through like a local college, and just to want to get some more info on digital marketing and just like learn about like websites, and it's talking about like websites and like SEO. And I've tried to kind of set up my own website like with my husband, but he doesn't really have any like marketing skills. Like he does more of like, you know, the actual development part of the website, like the coding. And so I'm trying to pick up more of those skills to like help him out a little bit more. I actually might do a bit of like UX UI design as well, so I can create more of that. Hello, husband.
Hello. I went to our bedroom and there's cat poop on our duvet.
Oh no, so I'm gonna have to wash it.
Yeah.
Our cats need to be brushed. I think they've been hairballing.
It was a big puke.
Okay, I don't want to hear it. No thanks. Okay, we're gonna ignore that and we're gonna blend this out now. I don't want to hear about cat vomit.
The cats have made a show of
yeah,
their vomit on the art stuff. Like,
what?
I'm saying, like, you puked in your keyboard recently.
Oh yeah. Yeah, the cat, one of the cats vomited on my keyboard and I had to get a new keyboard recently.
Now you guys get to hear about vomit on our sheets.
Yeah, there's vomit on our beds. So now I'm gonna have to wash our sheets again. I just washed them like 3 days ago. Man, clearly I should have waited 3 days more to wash them. Maybe the cats are telling us we're extra dirty, so we need to like wash our sheets more. They're like, yeah, this needs to be cleaned anyway. It's just vomit over here. Oh, cats. They're so funny. Can't even be mad at them because they're so cute. Oh my gosh. Okay, well it's getting there. We're like slowly coming to an end here. Trying to fade this out a little bit. Trying to gotta make that kind of faded a little bit more.
You know, we haven't revisited since for the stream.
What?
We haven't revisited multi-streaming.
Multi-streaming?
And getting it set up so that you could get the Twitch audience as well, because we're allowed to now, remember?
Oh yeah, you can multi-stream.
Forgot
I don't know. Might as well just stream on.
It might be worth it for.
My husband said Twitch started allowing people to like multi-stream now.
So we don't have to just.
So I could stream on YouTube and Twitch, but like I just don't want to manage that much.
I'm just wondering.
Because you have to manage like both chats.
I'm wondering if both of your. Not both. I'm wondering if your audience, more of your audience is potentially on Twitch, especially if they're like younger, watching like other things on there already. There might actually be some.
I mean, I do have a Twitch account, so
I could. Random thought. You're just like, oh yeah, we talked about doing this and we haven't.
I could stream on both. I could look at setting it up. Figure it out. At this point, we're just being really careful and we're just like blending stuff as we see little things that need blending. Trying to bring this a little bit closer here. Okay, that's actually looking pretty good. I like that. I like that little faded area we did on the side. I'm glad we decided to go with adding this little like faded area in the bottom here. I might actually put a little bit of this darker green back, or not green, darker purple back in underneath here. I think I add a little too much white on the sides. Just blend that out again. And then I'm going to go back in the cherry and add a little bit more to like those highlights, especially on the actual cherry. That's pretty good now. I think that's like faded in the area that we want around the sides here. Making sure it lines up with that curved line that I made. Okay. Just keep stepping back and looking at it from a distance. That always helps. Okay, I'm gonna grab, so we've got this little guy here. We put pink on it, like the pinkish white on it. So I'm gonna clean it off and we'll use this to add highlights. Now I'm thinking I want to add a bit more highlights to these like little kind of sections along the side. I'm gonna actually add this bluish highlight, but I'm gonna add a bit more of the titanium white to it. I'm just gonna grab a bit of the titanium white and mix it with the blue. It's like a little less blue. I'm gonna just use a little bit of linseed oil. Just to thin it out a little bit. Okay. So this is just gonna be for the brightest highlight areas. And then we will add some brightness to this area as well. Add a bit of a highlight here. We're just kind of accentuating these highlights a little bit more with that like very bright white. And you don't want to use too much of this. I try to shy away from using too much of the brightest highlight. Just want it to kind of be subtle. Because if you start adding too much white, it looks a little unnatural. Awesome, I like it. Oh, thank you. I'm excited to see yours. Make sure you post yours like on Instagram and or Facebook or something and tag me so I can see it. I like to share them like on my stories and stuff so then everyone else can see like everyone's like different styles. I love seeing everyone's like recreations of these because like I said, it's like everyone has slightly different style and they all look so different. I love that. I'm just adding a bit of a highlight here as well along the edge. Just very lightly kind of adding that highlight. On it. Looks pretty good. And then we've also got a little bit along the edge here. Go a little reflection along the edges. Adding in a little bit of that reflection, which looks pretty good. And then I want to add a bit more highlight to this part here. So I'm going to actually take this brighter white right on the stem. I'm just going to add a little bit along those brightest areas. And I'm also going to add a little bit here. Very little amount around the edges too. Got a little bit more of the titanium white. Gotta add a little bit more of a highlight up here. Honestly, we're getting to the end here. Okay, let me step back, see what I think. I can add a little bit more to the edge here. I want to bring the pink a little bit closer in the inside of the heart because I feel like it's a little too far away. So I'm just going to take a little bit of that darker color closer to the pink. And what I might do is I think I'll clean this off and then I'll take the pink color and just go around that heart shape a little bit more with that lighter pink color. So I don't want to make the stem too much bigger than that. Okay, that should be pretty clean. At least these brushes clean off pretty easily because they're tiny. Doesn't hold as much pigment, which is nice. I'm going to have a little bit of linseed oil with this pink just to make it easier to glide around that. I'm just going to slowly glide around that area there to get it as close as I can to the stem. Make the line a little bit sharper too, which is nice. Try to do it on the outside part too now, just to really get at least in this area. Gotta like hold my breath as I'm going around these areas so I don't move too much. And I'm very just like carefully blending it into the paint that's already there with the tip of this brush. Just because we can't really get that blender brush really close to the edge there. Just gotta use the tip of the brush a little bit. Good with that, I think. Okay, let's see. Got I think that honestly looks good. I think I'm gonna like call it quits there so I don't do any more to it. I like how the heart shape looks, so I don't want to mess up the heart shape. I think we did pretty good with that. Okay. So I will make sure I post a photo for you guys to show you the finished one because it looks a little bit different in person, but like it's a little bit closer this time. A little bit closer this time, I would say. I'll keep messing around with the colors for you guys so then you can see that more. But I have a thank you screen. Thanks for hanging out with me today and painting. If you painted, make sure that you join in on the challenge and use the hashtag mini paint challenge either on like Facebook or Instagram, and then tag me at Megan Josol Arts. I can show your art some love. I would love to see everyone's creations, whether you're watching now or you're watching the replay. It's never too late to do these. So you can always come back and like do like old ones as well if you want to join the challenge. But I'm glad you guys tuned in, and happy Valentine's Day again. So yeah, we will be, oh, I was saying at the start of the stream, we will be live again next week on Wednesday again at 10 a.m. PST. Looks lovely as usual, color shifted or not. Yes. Yeah, I think I will post a reel today too showing what it looks like on my end, and like I said, a color of maybe like a story of what it looks like in person. But yeah, thanks for hanging out with me today, and we have another collab next week is what I was gonna say. So there's an artist from Sweden that has provided a really delicious reference photo. It is a donut, I will tell you that. It looks so fun. She sent me like a bunch of photos, and it was so hard to pick because she sent me all of these delicious looking desserts that like I've never tried from Sweden. And this one is a donut. So I'm excited to paint a donut next week with you guys, and I will show that reference photo closer to the weekend, so then you guys can get a sketch and paint along with me again next week. But thanks for tuning in. Yeah, happy Valentine's Day. Thanks for hanging out and being here, and I will see you guys next week. Okay.